Well, good Wednesday morning, John Montone, 1010 Wins, welcoming you once again to Facebook Live at 8:05 from the newly reconfigured, rewired, reseated Entercom podcast studio, the Big E and radio.com. And I am joined this morning by Bailey Robinson and David Sauvage, and you are
empaths.
Empaths. Did not know what an empath was, although I kind of got a feeling for it. An empath is someone who has great empathy for other people, sensitivity. No, you say
no. That sounds great.
That's good.
We can take that. Yeah,
you can take that and run with it. But there's more.
Yeah, the way we've been using the term is an empath is someone who feels the emotions of others. Mm-hmm. So if you've ever had the experience of sitting next to someone, maybe like me, and you start feeling nervous, you might realize at some point that it's not your nervousness, that maybe their nervousness transferred to you, almost like the emotion is contages.
So the vibe.
You could call it that, sure.
I did.
But it could even be more specific and less esoteric. Like somebody's sad, and then you might find yourself feeling actually sad. You've absorbed their sadness. So that would be an empath, somebody who is taking on other people's emotions as if they were their own.
So you're the opposite of indifferent.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who's not empathetic might walk by and see someone who's sad and go, got things to do. But you would feel that.
Well, I'm hesitant to go too down into the weeds, but I want to make a little distinction.
Go down.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah,
okay.
This is what we do.
So I think it might be fun to make a distinction between compassion and empathy.
Okay.
So compassion is an upswelling of a desire to help, perhaps. Mm-hmm. And empathy doesn't necessarily mean that. Empathy just means you have an experience of someone else's experience. So you may or may not care. I might feel into what's going on with you, but that doesn't mean I care. Often I do, but I wouldn't say my compassion is off the charts.
Okay.
What Bailey and I have in common is our capacity to understand what is going on in another by virtue of our self-awareness.
Bailey?
Yes?
Here I am. Take a shot. What is going on?
I sense some confusion, and with that, you're coming on like strong, wanting a definition.
Confusion.
Yeah.
As to
what an empath is.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like, I go to a bar and I sit with empaths, or I go to a ball game. I probably not. You don't know my friends. So confusion. I mean, confusion beyond the definition or understanding of an empath, or general confusion that I live like a ball of confusion, like you remember the Temptations, ball of confusion? People moving out, people moving in. What? Because of the color of this? That type of confusion, deep confusion?
No. I was naming what you're feeling right now.
I see.
In this moment.
Okay, but you have to feel deeper than that. I mean, because of course I'm going to be confused, because I'm sure the people looking in are empath. They're Google, because Google. I actually hate Google because it makes us lazy. Oh, empath, I can look it up. But that's why I want to get this feeling. So here's the thing: you guys have opened a pop-up retail empathy store in the East Village. This is East 12th between Avenues A and B. And the store, I mean, what do you sell?
Sell's a tough word. We offer, and if people want to give us money, we joyfully accept.
That's a bad business model if I've ever heard one.
We're learning that.
Hey, pay what you want. Oh, good. Nothing. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we found, and I deeply believe that by offering connection and empathy without demanding money in return, it has the extra healing effect of receiving a gift. And so when you start compelling people to pay for something, there's a distancing effect. Whereas when you just come into the space and you sit with Bailey or me or somebody else and you feel like you've been given the gift of being heard and you don't have to pay for it, something shifts in your psyche and the world just becomes a little more open and beautiful.
How do you become an empath? I mean, is it innate, or was there some course of study? Did you learn it? Is it either one of you? I'm going to, think that...
Sure. Most people that are empaths develop the skill in order to stay safe when they're a child. So in order to stay safe, you learn how to read your parents or members of your family and know their feelings and emotions. And that way you can respond and you can caretake oftentimes your parents, your mother or your father. And so that's how you learn how to read other people's emotions.
Mm-hmm. And so let's say I walked into the store. I come in and I heal me. I don't hear me, heal me, make me feel better about myself. Yeah, you can't do it, right? You can't.
No, we can. I think
but it'll take time.
No, it might be instantaneous.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's something transformative about walking to a space where we're not asking anything of you and we're welcoming you for who you are. If you think about how rare that is in this world. So we've had people who walk in and go, oh my God, what's going on here? The sheer feeling of a space that's meant to hold you and accept you for who you are is in itself transformative.
What is in this space that would give me that feeling?
Primarily the energy of the people who are present and the tone that we're setting. So if you would have walked in yesterday or the day before yesterday, you would have seen Bailey holding a circle with 6 people, several of whom had never even met each other before.
This isn't a group hug type thing, because I'm averse to group hugs. I saw that it was.
No one would make you hug anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm not the individual, and not be. Let me just cut in 1 second. A while back, I interviewed a young lady who is a hugger. People go to her, and they hug, and they feel better. And although I felt fine that morning, in fact, it was a Friday morning and we had great plans for the weekend, hugging her did feel better. She was a nice young lady, and I hugged her, and it was good. But the but the group hug that's kind of weird. Is that the word I'm looking
for? Or another way of saying it maybe is it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, really uncomfortable.
Yeah, so it's not so much weird because it's not weird for other people.
Yeah,
but it makes you
people
uncomfortable.
like that.
Some do. Yeah,
really.
You just happen not to be one of them, and that's perfectly okay. And so it's not just hugging. Bailey was leading just the other night a group conversation with 6 people, and maybe she can tell you how I thought it was one of those beautiful things I've ever seen in my life.
Sure. So there were 6 people, and some had wandered off the street into the store. Some had come in knowing what the store was about. And we were sitting there talking about what was present for us in the moment and sharing our feelings and the things that we really struggle with. So a lot of things that came up were unworthiness, the feeling of...
Just to total, no offense, and you guys are very nice people, but for total strangers, I would talk about, feelings like that with this very tight group of people who I feel quite close to over years, decades. But to strangers, just walk off the street and, Bailey, I feel unworthy. I don't feel unworthy. I'm very worthy. But I feel whatever I feel. I feel old. I'm getting old. I mean, but people do that?
Yeah, not so directly, but we were sitting down, and it takes a little bit of time, but you set a container, and everyone sat down, we breathe together, and then maybe 2 or 3 minutes in, people are sharing how they really feel.
You breathe together.
Yeah, that's one of my tricks to get people to connect with each other before they get started. Like
maybe a yoga type thing,
just
or
breathe in and out at the same pace.
Right. I mean, people do that. It's a relaxation technique.
Yeah.
So that's what you start off with, relaxing them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then there's something about many of the people that were in the circle just said, this is one of the safest spaces I've ever
This is
felt
like
like
a
I've been
circle of trust, like
Yeah.
in the, what was that movie, The In-Laws or something? That circle, you're in my circle of trust. Or, I mean, but strangers.
Strangers.
People who didn't know each other 10 minutes ago are suddenly baring their souls.
Yeah.
Ain't that beautiful?
You see, it probably is I couldn't do it.
You absolutely could.
I did, trust me, I couldn't. My boss, the head of the news operation here, because I go out on the street and do a lot of interviews with New Yorkers and stuff. He always says, "You're the man of the people." Who doesn't really like the people? But I do. But not to fully embrace strangers like that.
I think it's not so much about how well you know or don't know somebody. It's about how safe it feels to express what's going on. So if you're in a space that feels really safe, which Bailey created the other night, the urge to be honest and vulnerable arises all on its own. And you just want to share, because we want to share as human beings. We want to share what's genuinely going on inside us with others. That's a basic core need.
But again, I come back to now. If I made an appointment with a psychologist or a psychiatrist, I would understand that. But to walk into this particular place off the street, and again, you're perfectly nice people, I'm not telling you my deepest secrets and my feelings. I'm just not. I couldn't do that.
Well, I think even that line you're drawing between the deepest secrets and your feelings and maybe what you're feeling right now, that line is drawn, it seems like it's drawn by you, but it's actually a cultural line that can get fuzzy in spaces that are really safe and healing. So you're acknowledging that you felt confused a little bit. Well, that's amazing. You've now acknowledged what you're feeling in the moment. And then if you can go a little deeper, which we don't have to do now, maybe there are other emotions that we could surface.
Yeah, this is going to be a one-time meeting, by the way. I just want to
I want you to come to the store.
No, it's not happening.
It's an amazing cross-section of people wandering off the street looking for healing.
When I get time off, it's like, the beach, the park, a good book, sometimes a cigar. Doctor. So how much better do people feel when they leave this circle of trust? I mean, is it an immediate thing? They walk out and they...
Yeah, it's immediate. So, even in the moment, you can see people go from being confused or like really energetically all over the place to being in the circle and being grounded and in touch with their feelings. And then they oftentimes leave much happier and connected to themselves.
And just, I got to get this down concrete. What exactly do you do or say to get them from to?
So I think one thing is starting off by connecting everyone through breath. And then the second thing is really just being present. So most people don't actually have someone give them 100% attention that often in their lives. And so we're sitting there giving these people 100% of our attention.
Well, if there are 6 of them, you're giving them 17.
We're giving the group 100% of our attention.
The group,
yeah.
As a whole.
And the other thing is what I do is the container will often, or the group of people will often share as deeply as I am willing to share.
The container? What does that mean?
The container is just a group of people.
Okay.
Yeah. So the group will often share as deeply as I'm willing to share. So I make sure that I'm present to what's going on with me and my feelings. And I'm always willing to share what's going on with me. And that sets the tone for how deeply others are willing to share.
Okay. Last night, the night before, give me, since we're not going to name them, you can give me examples of people who came in and told their stories.
Yeah, I'll take that one. So last night we did an event called Ask the Empath, and I was the titular empath, and I sat in front of a small audience, and then I invited people from whoever wanted to sit with me and ask whatever question arose for them. And the example that's coming to mind was there was a young woman who had seemed to have fallen in love with a man who on paper seemed like everything she wanted, but in reality was not calling her back and not giving her the attention she needed. And she felt deeply split between this love that she felt and how horrible he was making her feel by his avoidance and not communicating
Not
with her.
a particularly unique situation.
No.
Something that you might have read in Dear Abby or something, something like that.
100%.
Right?
I mean, this is very, 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 very. I mean, obviously, this is an extremely common phenomenon, and so what I was able to show her was that there might be a space in the future where she can prioritize her own needs for attention and consistency over her concept of the guy she should be with.
Yeah, I have no idea what that means.
I can try it again.
Yes.
So if she needs somebody to call her after they sleep together, but then she doesn't feel like asking him or demanding it of him because she is so desperate to hold on to him, that's a dangerous and unhealthy loop that she's in. So I'm pointing that out to her and I'm saying, listen, your need to feel connected with this man is important, is valid, it's real. And I'm rooting for you to get to the place where you put your own true emotional needs first over your fear of him running away. So I'm just bringing attention to the underlying need and validating that.
Okay, but now, couldn't a good friend over a glass of rosé essentially tell her the same thing?
Very rarely,
Really?
because most people just give advice that's based on what they would do in that situation without truly tuning into the person they're talking to. So most advice boils down to, you should do this thing that I believe I would do in your situation. And that's called projection, and it usually leads us down the wrong path.
And to differentiate, the empath would
Try to get themselves out of the way, really tune in to what is happening with the other person, and help them along their path, even if it's quite different from what they would do.
even if it ended up, in this case, with the end of the relationship.
I should hope so.
Okay, so finally I got another one. Do you have another example maybe of someone who came in with an issue that you were able to help resolve?
Yeah, there was a woman who came in who is transitioning jobs, and she was feeling like she really hadn't felt joy in like 15 or 20 years.
Joy in the workplace?
Joy
or,
in her
or
life.
anywhere
In
in her
life.
life. Okay.
Yeah. And I sat there with her and we talked about what was really going on, and, felt into the grief that she was really feeling about her desire to perform and do everything really well. So I want to be the best mom I can be. I want to be the best employee I can be.
There's something wrong with this?
Well, it led her to have this desire to be someone different than who she is, because in order to live up to the expectations she'd set of what the best mom is.
So she should lower her standards?
She should be the kind of mom that she wants, that she is and that she wants to be, and that what she was saying is she wanted to change to really figure out what kind of mom would really help her son succeed as best as possible versus the stereotypical best mom that society has, dubbed what kind of mom you should be. And so we spent some time talking about what would a relationship with her son look like that would fulfill her and that would also fulfill her son.
And she walked off the street after 15 years of unhappiness to share this.
A friend of hers knew about the event,
Okay,
and knew about the Popup and sent it to her and said, "I really think you would benefit from this."
had she been in therapy before? Had she?
She's done therapy. She's done leadership coaching.
I think one thing we're offering that's rare, though not unheard of, is really valuing where you are in your own process. So much coaching and also a lot of therapy, but not all, is kind of like, who do you want to be? And now become that. And that creates a split in the person where they start feeling inadequate, or you're reinforcing a feeling of inadequacy. And what Bailey and I and our partner in this project, Jess, have managed to create is a space where we're inviting you to accept yourself exactly where you are.
Even if you're an abject failure?
Especially if you're a quote-unquote abject failure, because believing you're an abject failure does not make you succeed. It just makes you feel worse. and who is the one defining abject failure, and what is their agenda. Maybe what's really going on is you're just really depressed, and the question is not how do you succeed, but the question is how do you work through the pain that is at the source of your depression.
So how does this differ then from psychotherapy or analysis?
It's not a particular modality that we're using. We're playing with all kinds of modalities, and Bailey and I have different ways of helping people heal. We're doing all sorts of different techniques or modality, ways of doing. Bailey has her own gifts. I have my own gifts. Other people who work in the space have their own gifts. We're inviting people to give the gift that's theirs to give. The difference between this and any therapy I've seen is that it's collective. So we're not relying on any one person's unique capacity.
But I mean, and again, I know I interrupt, but that's
all good.
What I do.
That's your job.
There are, group therapy sessions have been going on forever. I guess AA and different rehab centers use them.
And we're not saying we're inventing healing.
Okay.
We're saying what's original here is that you walk in off the street and you feel a sense of connection. And I don't know where that's happening. So we're making healing retail.
When people hear retail, they think things.
Mm-hmm.
You're not selling T-shirts
No.
or these. What were these? A few years ago, they were selling these
Mandala beads.
No,
they made you feel. And again, not to. Because this is what you do and you believe in it. But I mean, I walked in the store and, you put this thing on and your life was in balance at one pole and the other pole and you were in the middle and this and that. And I remember saying to the young lady behind the counter, this is bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah, probably. But I'm not saying that. But I mean, everybody seems to have a way to make people heal with beads and rocks and stones and, and I can't get beyond people will walk off the street and share their deepest emotions with strangers.
It's not necessarily sharing their deepest emotion. That's what you are so reluctant to do. Thus, you are imagining that that's impossible for everyone else. But it's that happens. People do share. But it's also just about walking into a space where you're genuinely welcome.
Yes.
And that is transformative because we have so few spaces that are genuinely welcoming.
What about a good friend's apartment?
That feels great too.
Okay.
We're not claiming.
No, so you're not.
We're not saying don't go to your welcoming friend's apartment. We're saying we're creating a welcoming.
But you're in business too. I mean, in the friend's apartment, it's just, hey, plop down, have a coffee, talk if you want. You need to generate money to keep this going.
Well,
right?
we're only open for 17 days. It's a pop-up, so we were.
What will you pop up other places as well, or?
We'll see.
We'll see. Okay.
It's an experiment.
Yeah.
Can such a thing exist where the intention is truly to welcome people into themselves off the street?
I mean, will this be the next thing? Like now, I think the hugging has made its way into mainstream culture. We saw it on one of the shows, the show my wife likes, Billions, a couple of weeks ago, where one of the traders had to be hugged, and I said, oh, that's like that story that they're hugging. Now everybody knows about the hugging. Will everybody soon know about the empaths? Is that a goal or?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Does that sound to you?
Yeah,
Sounds good.
I mean, you want to catch.
That's not the goal. That's not the goal.
But
that's a fun byproduct.
But no. But here's the thing, David. If it doesn't happen, then you'll fade away and you won't be able to help more people.
Well, that's one theory of change. I mean, there's another theory of change, which is that we're doing something that is creating a subtle shift. It's creating a shift on the block. People walk by and they go, what's going on? It's creating a shift in everyone who walks in the space. It's creating a shift in people who are listening right now because we're opening the door to another way of doing things. And that shift might permeate even if we never open the door again. Our metric of success is not so much like how much money do we make or how many people walk in the space. It's more like, are we fulfilled? And we don't know the ultimate ramifications of creating a healing space in the middle of New York City.
So way back in my life, transcendental meditation was the thing. And I got to tell you, guys I knew who would never have walked into a place with flowers and stuff offering as a gift, we did it because the Beatles did it and other famous counterculture people did it. And I did it, and I learned, they gave me the mantra, and I would sit silently and repeat the mantra. I worked at a gas station overnight when I was in college, and I used to take like a little time out and, let people come off the George Washington Bridge and rob the place while I sat in my car and did the mantra, and I really felt relaxed and everything. And then a few years later, I forgot about it, and I was actually on a plane to Los Angeles, and I met a young lady, and we start talking, and it turned out she was into transcendental meditation. I said, oh, yeah. I said, I was too for a while. I said, what's your mantra? And before she could stop me, I said, mine was Ainga. And she went flipped out completely on the plane that I would mention my mantra. And I thought, well, the transcendental meditation didn't have much of an effect on you. So how is this different than that, the transcendental meditation?
It's just connecting with people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no different than the connection you might feel from the friend you... I mean, it's like so basic. It's like empathy. It's humanity. It's walk in. It's feel connected. It's talk to somebody you've never met before in an authentic way. It's going into a space that's not just simply trying to extract money from you by selling you something you don't need. It's it's like being human in a storefront in New York City. That's what it is.
Not trying to be a wise ass, but it sounds like the beginning of Cheers, the old TV show. Remember when they used to?
It's like
place
Cheers,
where everybody knows your name.
Great. It's I like that analogy. It's like Cheers, except we don't rely on the numbing effects of alcohol to make.
There's
human
no
connection
Norm
possible.
sitting at the Norm is yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I get it. Well,
Or you don't. Cool.
Yeah,
We tried.
You did, and I'm probably not the person, but I wanted to try to drag this out and make it.
How do we do?
You guys are great. You guys are nice people.
Well, we
That's
actually have some comments.
Okay, just one thing before. Let me just tell you, nicest people are the toughest people to interview, because I kind of find myself pulling back. I don't want to be a real wise ass at times, but I wanted to just bring things out. And now our listeners and our viewers are going to comment. Tanya?
Okay, Nazareth Beastman says it's mental morning today. Amy Watchell is thanking you for sharing this with everyone.
I'm sure. What is the Beastman? This is the Beastman from, his name is Beastman, so we call him the Brooklyn Beastman. What does he mean, mental morning? Is it M-O? How is he spelling that?
mental. Mental.
No, the morning part of it.
morning.
Oh, okay.
Morning.
All right. Okay. You got it.
Amy Watchell, again, thanks for sharing this with your audience today. Sherry, keep the faith, says their voices are very calming.
See?
You see that?
Working.
And Sherry is a Mets fan, so she has reason to be crazy these days. You've calmed her down. Or was that DeGrom's gem last night that got you, Sherry?
Between DeGrom and Alonso. Julia says is explaining to John Martin that empathy or empaths have an innate ability to sense others' energy notably more so than the typical person who can sense negative energy coming from a person.
That's Julia.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Julia.
In addition to being absolutely brilliant, she's an incredible nature photographer, and she has memorized every Seinfeld episode ever made.
That's impressive.
Wow.
Any more, Tanya?
Nope.
That's it. All right. So, again, you're located...
We are at 508 East 12th Street, 12th Street between A and B.
And you'll be there for how long?
We're open from now until the 29th of June. We're open from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m.-ish. We're a little loose there. And you can find out all about it on the website. It's www.empath.nyc/popup, or you can just go to www.empath.nyc and click right through.
And Tanya, when we post this later, why don't we put the link to the website up there?
If I can.
If you can. Sure you can.
And we have
I
events.
give you permission.
We have events that are listed on the website every night almost from now until the end. We have a different event.
Right. And the public at large just welcome to come in and
We're here for you.
and feel the love. Is it love? Is that love? What I
Yeah.
love? You feel the love. Okay. Right. It's like Cheers without the numbing effects of alcohol.
You got it.
Yeah. Thank you. This has been Facebook Live at 8:05. And remember, this only exists because of 1010 Wins. All news all the time. Remember that deal. Remember our bargain with you. You give us 22 minutes, we give you the world. Lee Harris, Bridget Quinn anchoring today. Glenn Schuck was out. We got more congestion, pricing, confusion in Midtown. I covered that shark on the boat off the Manasquan Inlet. If you have not seen that video, take a look at it. I have to tell you, this was incredible how that shark came up and ripped off the bag of bait. We have sports with Mark Ernay. The Mets finally won. The Yankees continue to win. We've got the Wall Street, the Fed today will give a hint as to where interest rates go. We have the entertainment. Karen Stewart with the roads and rails. She's always mad at some construction crew. She's always mad at NJT or the MTA. You've got to tune her in. And Dean DeVore, my buddy with AccuWeather, promises us that after Friday morning, the sun will come out. Finally, John Montone, 1010 Wins for Facebook Live at 8:05. Time to say goodbye, Tanya.
Goodbye, Tanya.
That's it. See you tomorrow, probably from the car.